What's happening, everybody? Happy Friday. It's Friday, August 12th. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth. We're going to get started with the live stream. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Testing out some new streaming software, and I'm going to be doing a lot more interviews and things like that. I'm actually going to be interviewing Cannabis Biotech, the CFO, next Tuesday. So testing out the new software. Let me know if everything's coming through nice and clear. But going to get started with today's video. Today's video is going to be centered around SNDL, no longer Sundial, formerly Sundial, now SNDL as part of the rebranding. Going to go over their Q2 2022 earnings. They missed in terms of EPS, but they had a huge beat in terms of revenue. And going to share my screen here and we'll get started. Let's go. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you could smash the like, help support me in the channel, doesn't cost you anything. And tick the bell, you'll be notified on any future videos. All right, so this is the new MJ Ventures. Sundial posts big MJ revenue following Alcanna acquisition. So if you were wondering if you saw the massive increase, it's because of that acquisition. You can see here last quarter came in at they were forecasting 20.26 million, came in at 17.6. And that was, again, not factoring in Alcanna. So now they were forecasting 209.17 million, and the forecast on the EPS was positive 0.0025, and they actually missed in terms of, they had a pretty big negative EPS. We'll look at that in a second here. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I think it was 35 cents. And then they beat 223 in terms of revenue. See here, net revenue was 223.7 million. That's a huge beat for analyst in regards to the analyst estimates, but obviously because of Alcanna, right, for the majority of that. But they had a big MJ revenue as well and seemed to be a nice bounce back quarter. We know that they're also in the process of potentially taking over Cannabis's distressed assets. So they're going to be filing for creditor protection, and SNDL now going to step in and potentially that will be their into the EU market and all over Europe. In Germany, specifically set to legalize and recreationalize here into the fall, more than likely. Same with New York. But they reported their second quarter 2022. All financial information in this press release is reported in millions of Canadian dollars unless otherwise indicated. Also, just as a quick heads up to everybody, the company will hold a conference call and webcast at 8:30 a.m. on Monday, and that's Eastern time. And we'll go through this a little bit quicker. So the rebrand, following the annual and special meeting of the shareholders on July 25th, 2022, Sundial Growers Inc. changed its legal name to SNDL Inc. in light of the evolution of SNDL's business over the past 2 years. Management feels that this change is more appropriately reflects the operating model and strategy of the company. And I've been saying this is something I've been talking about for a while as well, that they're a very different company compared to, they're not just into MJ, they're also into alcohol now, into retail and MJ retail and alcohol. And obviously this whole branding is part of that because of their, they're branching out into the alcohol space. So that was to be expected, in my opinion, probably the right move. Commenting on the rebrand, Zach George, SNDL's chief executive officer, said the rapid and material changes to our business over the last 2 years have led to our original Sundial Growers identity becoming less relevant. We believe that the new SNDL brand better reflects our corporate activities and the undeniable impact that retail investor support has had on our survival and ability to build Canada's largest private sector distribution platform for liquor and MJ. We continue to focus on delighting consumers with curated experiences and a robust selection of quality product offerings. SNDL embodies our path to the creation of a platform committed to excellence in the regulated product space. Very well said. Second quarter 2022 financial and operational highlights. So full disclosure, I did take a position not too long ago on SNDL, just a very small position, not even 5% of my MJ portfolio at the moment, but I am going to potentially look to add to this. But this is all very encouraging. I wasn't 100% sure. I'm still not 100% sure on how I feel about the, branching into alcohol as well, because I think that alcohol is really going to struggle after, US legalizes and everything like that, right? Not just in Canada, or in the US, but all over the world, right? We're going to see the people that have the most to lose, and the companies that have the most to lose is the big alcohol and big tobacco. And that's why they're getting into the space behind the space as much as they can, is because they don't want to be irrelevant, right? They don't want to be left in the dust, so to speak. And that's what's going to happen is consumers are likely going to be ditching, other forms, like so tobacco and alcohol, to do more healthier alternatives like MJ. And it'll just be more options, right? So it's just a lot of people don't like to drink, they don't like to smoke at the same time. So it kind of, you have to pick and choose, right? So, and I think people are going to choose MJ a lot more, but I'm not sure exactly. I'm not an expert on the alcohol business. I'm an expert on the MJ business. And, Tilray has, their hands in Sweetwater Brewing Co. and, the beer brand. They have Breckenridge Distillery. And you have other companies. I did a video on how different these Canadian LPs are. And you got Canopy, who has BioSteel, which is a hydration sports drink that's now sponsored by the NHL and the NHL Players Association, National Hockey League. And they're just all very different businesses. They're also into retail as well, where they actually have their own retail stores. And there's a lot to be seen, in my opinion. But honestly, I think SNDL at these levels, just like most MJ stocks, is pretty much a bargain and an absolute steal. Pretty much a no-brainer, in my opinion, to throw at least a few percentage of my MJ portfolio into it. Record net revenue, like I said, of 23.7 million compared to 9.2 million in the quarter before, representing a 2,344% increase. Decorated a little bit there. Liquor retail net revenue 148, exactly right. So the net revenue was 148.6 million in the quarter of 2022. Their MJ retail net revenue is 63.5 million for the second quarter of 2022. And again, that is because of the result of acquisitions. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. See the messages coming through. I'm not sure if it was delayed a little bit, but trying out some new software, and you can see everybody's comments now. Happy Friday. I don't see Tilray going below $370 anymore. It's not holding. It's been holding tight. 370. Not sure what you mean by 370. $3.70. Anymore, it's been holding tight around, 380-ish. Right. Yeah, so we'll try to keep the video centered around SNDL. Cheers, David. Cheers, Sycamore Style. And cheers, Tyler. Welcome to the stream. He's lied so many times, Zachary has. I actually don't follow him that much. But thanks for sharing. I don't know. I honestly don't really pay attention too much to this company. I just started following them quite regularly. And I wanted to wait and see how the dust settled with the Alcanna acquisition. And so far, it's looking pretty good. I'd like to see a couple quarters of how this is going to continue to grow, because like I said, I'm a little skeptical on the liquor retail as a result of MJ retail and people looking for healthier alternatives, things of that nature. But moving through this a little bit quicker here. So they had a net loss of 74 million in the second quarter of 2022 compared to 52.3 million net loss in the second quarter of 2021, a 41% increase. Their gross margin grew to 43.1 million, a record since its inception, up 1,627%. In the second quarter, a loss of 2.8 million. The SNDL team's dedication and perseverance have enabled us to make significant progress on our journey to become Canada's largest private sector distributor for both liquor and MJ. All right, moving through this a little quicker here. Honestly, just going through this with you guys for the first time. Just got back from my condo doing a clean. I finally got it listed on Airbnb, so I'm going to try and get it my first client here in the next day or two. First guest. Yeah, so they're now the largest private sector liquor retailer, operating 170 locations, predominantly in Alberta, where I reside, and they're everywhere. Yeah, so Wine and Beyond, Liquor Depot, Ace Liquor, that's pretty much like all I shop at. The liquor retail segment's stable and growing cash flow profile and best-in-class retail operations expertise have accelerated SNDL's retail growth and vertical integration strategy. The second quarter of 2022 is SNDL's first full quarter of reporting liquor retail revenue following the completion of the acquisition. Yes, exactly. That's why you're seeing such a huge increase, but don't be... Like I said, I'd like to see a few quarters of this to see what kind of trends we're looking at, right? There's just too much to unpack here. So gross margin, 22.6% of sales. It's go here. While customer count is down by 5% year to date, largely due to the return on on-premise consumption in a post-C19 environment, the average basket size is up 2%. Wine and Beyond locations where consumers come for experiential destination shopping approach to liquor retail. I'll have to go in there. I haven't been there yet. If anybody's been there, let me know. SNDL liquor banners market share in Alberta was 17.6% in the second quarter of 2022, and Wine and Beyond representing 2.9% with only 11 stores, showcasing the continued increasing popularity of the banner. SNDL is exploring opportunities to expand Wine and Beyond store footprint in Alberta, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan. So yeah, this is getting interesting. It's like I said, there's those stores are everywhere here in Alberta and all over Western Canada, and it's only going to get bigger by the looks of it. Moving forward, the company will seek to optimize profitability and cash flow with the liquor retail segment by focusing on cost discipline. Yeah, so it's looking more like a liquor store or a liquor business now. Well, not more like one, but certainly a good chunk. It's like a 40-60 split. As of August 11th, Ace Liquor count is 138. Yeah, exactly. They're everywhere. The Liquor Depot store count is 20, and Wine and Beyond store count is 12. The acquisition interest in Nova MJ through the Alcanna acquisition, SNDL's expanded retail. I think they own 60%. Retail network has significantly increased the company's retail market share and its exposure to the broader consumer base. And Nova MJ had a pretty good earnings report as well. And they also have Value Buds, the value brand. It also provides direct access to more comprehensive customer data, and the company expects revenue increases from the continued integration of its distribution channels. MJ Retail operating results include 100% of Nova's results as majority-owned subsidiary. There you go. Gross revenue, $63.5 million for MJ. Yep. So we'll go through this a little quicker here. We're at 13 minutes. I'll try to keep this a little short, but again, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on Monday, August 15th is the conference call. I'm going to try my best to tune into that. So again, they huge beat, 223 versus 209 estimated. And their EPS, I didn't show you. So I think it was negative 35, but we'll take a look. I'll show you here. So if you just go to CDAR, go to company profile, you'll see here interim financial statements, and you can also go to MD&A, management discussion and analysis. But we'll just go, for the sake of this, we'll just go down here to the condensed financials. Go to the EPS. I think I must have passed it. All this stuff just kind of blends together after a while. There we go. Negative 31. Okay, I was close. So yeah, basic and diluted, and it's negative 0.31. And they were forecasting positive 0.0025. We'll just check on TradingView as well. Yeah, so negative, it says here on TradingView is 0.03 forecasted. And then what did it say in terms of revenue? Estimate was 161.29. Oh, okay, it's in US dollar. Yeah, it's in US dollars because on this one's it just factors in the NASDAQ. So big miss in terms of EPS, but pretty big beat in terms of revenue. So it's going to be interesting to see how this opens up on Monday. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that we ran quite a bit. We're up over almost 8.5% at the end of the close. But on the day today, from the low of the day to the high of the day, we're up 16%. So you have to wonder, we could see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross, but you have to wonder if we could potentially see a bit of a sell-off. We do have a pretty big range though, right? That range is, even to drop down from current levels, we'd have to lose 10% just to start daily consolidation. So it's a pretty big range, and we could see a potential for a daily inside bar. But the fact that we closed almost 10% tells us that we could potentially see quite a bit of a pullback if there's any kind of, I don't think these numbers are really going to be enough to really skyrocket the stock. If you're wondering if the stock's going to completely shoot up on Monday, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think we're going to see green on Monday? Do you think we're going to see red? I think it's really going to dictate. What's really going to dictate it is going to be the broader market. On Monday, we know we're due for weekly consolidation on the S&P 500, and we know that the MJ space has been running hot as of late. So if that's the case, we're going to expect something to break here soon. But like I said, if we were down 4% or just up a couple percent today into the close, I would say we might have a green day. But like I said, because of how much we've been running the last week or so, it may not be the case. So I don't think we're going to see much upside, to be honest with you. It all depends if the S&P 500, well, we closed at the high of the day, we closed at the high of the week, and I've been calling for 427 on the S&P 500 for quite a while now. Drew up this equilibrium once we had the low, high, higher, low, lower, high, higher, low, bear break, bear trap, and then we got the real move. Came back down, broke above resistance, confirmed old resistance as new support, off to the races, take the measured move of this bear flag, bull flag, and it took us to 427. Here we are hitting 427 on SPY like clockwork, man. Technical analysis, and someone will tell you that charts and technical analysis are all silly and don't listen to anybody. They don't know what they're talking about, and none of it makes sense. Well, I've been forecasting that for I don't know how long, multiple weeks, and here we are. So like I said, S&P 500 could I think we could potentially see a little bit of a gap up on Monday, but I think it's going to lead to a sell-off, come back down to around the 405, 400, back test those EMAs. We're still quite a ways away before we see those EMAs on the weekly bull cross, meaning the shorter term, the yellow line coming up through the white line. So that longer term moving average on the exponential. So like I said, from current levels, even if we gap up a bit, maybe we go to 430, I wouldn't expect much of a move beyond that, to be honest with you, before a pretty decent sell-off. We are starting to get, a lot of people thought it was a suckers rally, and now people are starting to FOMO in, right? And then this is where you usually get parabolic. People who thought, oh, it was definitely a bear market are buying in now, right? They were looking at buying in 3 weeks ago, and now they're just feeling FOMO to the max. So then now that they're here, they're like, oh, screw it, we're going back to all-time highs, and then we get weekly consolidation, right? So I think we could see a gap up to around 430, pullback. That means we could see about a 5% pullback, and what's the rule of thumb that I always say? That if the S&P 500 pulls back 1%, the average for an individual stock is 3 to 4%. So if we could pull back about 5% on SPY, that means SNDL could be down anywhere from 10 to 18% come Monday. So it all depends really, in my opinion, if the sector gets any kind of news. Obviously, it could outperform and go against the broader market, but it's been very correlated. And like I said, just taking a look at the lows here from the time we split, we're up 50%. So again, where's all the people who say that reverse splits are bad? Well, we just did a 1 for 10 reverse split on SNDL. And look, if you would have entered there on that low, on that day, that's actually one of the first days that I bought it. I was back here because I knew that the sector was weak. It was a virtual certainty they weren't going to regain compliance, and the broader market, the S&P 500, was tanking. Netflix was down like 80% in 6 months since the beginning of the year, and the market conditions were atrocious, right? And I expected more downside as a result of the reverse split, but I knew that it would likely be absorbed quickly and probably wouldn't last very long. So I was aggressive when we were aggressively going down, matching that aggressiveness. But if you would have just entered there, say when we started to bounce here and kind of fizzle out a little bit, we actually had 4 daily inside bars in a row. So super tight. You could have just said, okay, if we break resistance, I'll go long. And if we break support, then I'll potentially set a stop loss. But you could have said, okay, I could even set a stop buy for 229 once we broke those multiple 4 in a row, right? So on the 4th one, we finally broke it. But there was 3 in a row before that. And we didn't see much of a breakout from there. But if you would have just set a stop buy at say 235, or even if you would have did this one, 235 would have been perfect stop buy. You would have been up 35% almost, just off of that potential trade alone, right? Just off the tightening range. When you see inside bars, that just means the candle is within the previous daily candle range. And then the more that happens, the more tighter it gets. And then just like pumping air into a tube, the more it pumps and gets, the more the pressure builds up, the more, if you do it for so long, it'll just explode, right? And that's what happened. Price exploded to the upside. And because the whole sector was due, the broader market was due for a bounce. We had a ton of PowBot buy algo alerts go off on some of our MJ names and on a lot of our tech stocks, on cryptos. So the whole broader market was telling, and this is why you can't just look at SNDL. You can't just look at one stock. You can't just look at one sector. You got to be looking at everything. And if you can't be looking at everything, that's kind of why I created this channel and Pow Group, was so that we had the more eyes on the market, the better. And I can tell you guys exactly what I'm seeing when I'm seeing it. And then you don't have to be a financial wizard the second you start out, so that, you know, you can take the time to learn, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. That's kind of the idea around pursuit of wealth. But taking a look at SNDL on the weekly time frame, we had a really interesting week, actually, because a lot of our names are closing over their 10-week moving average. We're not even above it yet. 311. So this is a bit concerning. And full disclosure, again, I bought SNDL on this recent pullback, so I want it to go to the moon just like anybody else. I'm just telling you what the charts are saying, and I'm saying that this doesn't look too good. The MACD still hasn't had a bull cross yet, getting very close. Stochastic is bullish. Usually that's the first one to turn bullish. But what I'm not liking here is the fact that we closed the week under $3.11, and quite a bit, I may add, because we only closed at $3. We did have increasing bull volume, but a lot of our other names are well below, above it. Sorry, and it's well below it. See Tilray, way above its 10-week moving average here, 10 the week at 351. It closed at 403, right? So it was a very, very bullish close, and they weren't even reporting earnings. And SNDL, like I said, CDC, nice strong close over its 10-week moving average, couldn't even get above it. And like a lot of our names are getting above it. Even HMMJ, the ETF, closed above it, and MSOS in the US closed above it. So I'm a little concerned that SNDL, so I'd be saying neutral or not, if not a bit of a sell-off into Monday. Kind of where I'm at. Like I said, just because of how much we ran in the last couple of weeks, up 50% off the low there. Whoops, I don't know what I was typing there. But if we can get a weekly, and that's something too, right? We haven't confirmed a weekly uptrend yet. A lot of our other names, we're still in a weekly downtrend, actually. We're lower high, lower low. Anything under 361 is just a lower high. Actually, you could even say we didn't even break to a new lower low there. So I would say anything under 397 is a weekly lower high. This wasn't much of a bounce. Well, yeah, no, we'll say 361. Because of, that was a pretty decent bounce, actually, in terms of percentage-wise. You were looking at, almost 7%, yeah. So, and then the rest of MJ also confirming weekly uptrends. So, in my opinion, if we can break 361, we could see, there's three scenarios, right? We can go up, we can go sideways, or we can go down. So, into Monday, I think there's probably a, 30% chance we head up here to 361 and then sell off, and that would line up with my thesis that we could see the S&P 500 gap up or see some increasing bull volume and pressure and buying pressure into Monday, and then we see a bit of a sell-off. But if we do see a bullish reaction to earnings, watch 361. After 361, it's 397. But anything under 361 is a weekly lower high and a weekly downtrend. So a name like Tilray, for example, it has its low, high, double top, higher low, and higher high. So it's in a clear weekly uptrend. But SNDL, this move's just coming, and it's because of the reverse split, right? That's why SNDL is lagging behind. But the great thing about these names like SNDL, who had a extensive sell-off and a bit of an over-exaggerated one, in my opinion, the great thing about that is when other names are starting to confirm weekly uptrends like HMMJ and MSOS ETFs, that's a big deal, right? And the fact that that's happening tells us that SNDL could see a pretty big recovery and a hard and fast move. And that's exactly what happened. Up 50% in 2 days, in 2 weeks. So congrats to the bulls who bought the dip. I was one of them. And first position, long-term position, long-term no touch. So I've got a short-term account, long-term account. I don't have any SNDL in my short-term account yet, but I have it in my long-term. So I just buy it in there. I use a lot less capital than I would in a short-term trading account, or a swing trade. with a stop loss, that type of thing. But this is just buy and hold. Don't touch it until the US legalizes. That's my thesis and game plan for my long-term account. Not touching it till the US legalizes. I don't care if SNDL goes to $100 before then. I'm not selling my long-term bag. That's why I have it in a shorter-term account. And I don't care if it takes 5 to 10 years, right? Because I'm holding it until the US legalizes. And you might be wondering, well, the predominant operations and all their liquor stores and everything is in Canada. Well, just the hype alone from US legalization is going to drastically impact everything. Once we get any kind of safe banking or legalization, descheduling, things like that, Germany, other countries, like it's all going to be bullish for MJ. It won't matter. And then, like I said, SNDL is looking to take a stalking horse bid into Cannabis's assets, filing for creditor protection, and going to take those distressed assets, and that'll be their EU GMP certification in Malta. That'll give them access to Germany. So I think there's no coincidences in life, right? I think this was all planned. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me. We'll get back into the chat here in a moment. But we also failed to close over the 50-day moving average. Just realize that as well. 50-day moving average is there at 315 and the 10-week moving average at 311. So 315 is going to be extremely difficult to get above. I'd honestly be shocked if we got above that on Monday. It all is going to depend on the sector, obviously, but more so on the S&P 500, in my opinion. But we still haven't confirmed weekly uptrends. I would anticipate that being the top of the move, 315. If we do see a bull reaction, I wouldn't see us moving much more than that because we finished the day up 8% leading into the earnings. Big miss on EPS, pretty big beat on revenue. It's kind of a mixed bag. And like I said, still coming off the reverse split. So a lot of people still may have a pretty big sour taste in their mouth, and up 50% in 2 weeks. Yeah, I would say the most likely scenario is a weekly inside bar into next week. But what bulls want to see is as big of a bounce as possible to allow a higher low and a higher high, just like a lot of our other names have already done. Like CDC hasn't done it yet either. This move's all coming off the low. Anything under 386 is a weekly lower high in a weekly downtrend. But again, name like Sundial hasn't done it either, but Tilray has. So you have the low, high, double top, double bottom, higher high, higher low, and higher high. So leader in the space, this is good, right? We want to see as many names as possible. And then the fact that it's the leader is good because we could potentially see this follow suit with SNDL and the rest of the sector. We want to see the more names in weekly uptrends, the better, right? We want all boats to rise together. We don't want to be tribal, because the more names that are starting to confirm weekly uptrends, the ones that haven't yet, like SNDL, the more likely that that's going to occur as well. And in order for us to change weekly trends, we'd have to see another higher high from here, which means we'd have to top out, come down, and form a higher high, which means we'd be probably somewhere around that upper 3 echelon or low $4 area, right? So smash the like if you're excited about that. I think it's very long overdue, and we could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross. Looking good, looking real good. But like I said, very concerning. Couldn't get over the 50-day moving average and failed to close the weekly candle over the 10-week moving average when everybody else was getting above it. Again, for the leader in the space, Tilray closed above its 50-day moving average. So a little bearish. CDC closed above it, 309 and then 330. So another leader in the space, but in terms of market cap, and where the big institutional money plays. So again, it's looking good. That means that SNDL, it might struggle here for a few days, but it could bounce back pretty quickly once the whole sector starts to see the reversal, right? Like I said to Powell Group private members today, there's runners and laggards. Usually when we're beaten down 80-90% across the sector in a brutal bear market, we have the tier one names run first, right? When the sector finally reverses, the tier ones, that's why I always chart Tilray and CGC, right? Because they're the leaders in Canada. And then I use MSOS, which has the highest dollar volume, and it's an ETF that tracks all of the American operators. So I track them, and then once they start to bounce, then we see the laggards start to catch up. And that's why SNDL is up 50% in 2 weeks, right? So, but going to end the analysis there. Again, I could dive into this. They did say the shares outstanding after. So let's go back. They did give us a list of shares. So gross revenue, yeah, gross margin. Went over that. Did want to see that after common shares. There we go. So as of August 12th, 2022, a total of 238 million common shares were outstanding. Oh, there we go. So yeah, if you care to read or go through that, this stream would be 2 hours, 3 hours long if I was to go through all of this and point out everything that I liked and didn't like. But I'll skim through it a little bit more again, and if there's anything else that jumps out to me, I'll let you know. But again, negative 31 cents in terms of EPS versus a forecasted positive 0.0025. Big miss on EPS, but big beat, 223 million versus 209 expected. All right, jumping into the chat here. I'm just going to skip over any questions that aren't about Sundial for now. SPY looks to be losing steam, possibly. Yep. All day Hexo is 23. Yep. 23 cents plus. SNDL rocket emojis. Oh yeah, I forgot I can show you guys the comments now. So I'm testing out this new streaming software. Like I said, going to be doing a lot more interviews. Got to interview with the CFO of Cannabis Biotech on Tuesday. So this will be the platform that we'll be using, and we'll be able to interact with them. Let me know if you guys like the background music. It's pretty chill. I'm vibing. SNDL, you bet. Looks cheap. Yep. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, honestly. It's obviously the reverse split was an over-exaggerated sell-off. I don't think that it was warranted at all. Mike says SNDL finally shows their stuff. So yeah, again, I think it's a great report, but it seems a little too decorated for me. I want SNDL to go to the moon, quote unquote, go to the moon just as quickly as anybody else does. I own it in my portfolio now, and I would love for it to just go to 100 tomorrow, right? But I personally, before I invest any more money, I personally want to see a few quarters and see how the growth of their alcohol business specifically, but also their MJ retail and things like that. I mean, obviously, C-19 is easing and lockdowns, things are opening up. There's no more passport, right? So passports, and then that's likely going to, but we'll see, because it's summertime, leading into the summertime. We'll see. A lot of people drinking booze in summertime, especially around here. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I'd like to see 2 or 3 more quarters and just see how the overall trend's going. SNDL goes up on Monday. Yeah, so hopefully I answered that question. I don't think it's going to go up very much because of the fact that it closed under the 10-week moving average. It failed to close the daily candle over the 50-day moving average. We ran 8, almost 9% to close the day, leading into earnings, and they had a big miss on EPS and a decent beat on revenue. So I think it's going to be, I'm gonna go with neutral. I don't think we're going to see a huge move either way, personally. But again, we ran 50% off the lows there in 2 weeks as well. And we still haven't confirmed weekly uptrends. We're still in a weekly downtrend. So I'm leaning bearish. I'm neutral to leaning bearish. And if we do see a bullish reaction, again, I don't know everything. That's just what my honest opinion. But if we do see a green open, it will most likely be because of the fact that the broader market SPY is seeing a bullish open in the rest of the MJ sector. Again, any news that comes out over the weekend with regards to SNDL or that I don't know about yet, I can't be held liable for that. But or specifically the sector, any sector news that moves it over the weekend. But as of right now, I would say that if S&P 500 gaps up or sees, like we had closed at the high of the day, closed at the high of the weekly candle on the S&P 500. So if we do see a bullish open on the S&P 500, we're nowhere that we're due for weekly consolidation there. So I wouldn't expect SNDL to go up any more than $3.20 on Monday, even if we do have a bullish reaction. So I am leaning bearish because we're still in a weekly downtrend. Failed to close over the 10-week moving average. 50-day moving average is still resistance. While a lot of our other names have closed above it, right? Just from a pure technical standpoint, that's what I'm kind of looking at. But in terms of the earnings, it seemed pretty decent. EPS, that's not an anomaly. They're not the only one. They're not the only ones having troubles with their EPS and profitability in terms of operations and things like that. So, kind of give them some brownie points there. But in terms of revenue, they had a solid beat. But again, all because of the acquisition of Alcanna fully reflected on that now, right? So I'd like to see a couple quarters of this before I'm not an alcohol expert, nor do I track this, inventory or sales or trends in the alcohol industry, right? So this is all kind of new to me as well, but we'll be covering it all together. But like I said, neutral into neutral leaning bearish. But like I said, it's all going to be what the S&P 500 does, in my opinion. $223 million this quarter in SNDL, and that's more than all pot stocks combined. Well, again, Mike, you can't just look at that one metric, right? Because if we go to bring up my screen here, it's mostly alcohol, right? So you're talking about MJ companies, right? But it's very different. You're more like it's more of like a alcohol company right now, right? Because MJ was only accounted for 63.5 million and liquor accounted for 148.6. So SNDL essentially just morphed into a liquor juggernaut, right? So it's not really comparing apples to apples. Whereas like Tilray doesn't have as much exposure, that much reliance on revenue growth for liquor. Theirs is very, very small, and their projected revenue growth in the future is very small. And then whereas other names, like, I don't know, Hexo, for example, they don't have any liquor exposure. So this is, there's other pure MJ plays. This is definitely not a pure MJ play. This is, you really have to figure out what the trends are going to be that's why I'm still not going too heavy on SNDL. I just added a couple times, my first and second time on that dip in the reverse split. But like I said, I'm not a liquor expert, so I don't know what the trends are here. But you can't just look at last quarter 20 million and this quarter 209 million, then the best MJ company, right? Because then that wouldn't be intellectually honest. That would be misrepresenting the revenue growth, right? The revenue growth is from this acquisition, which we all knew was coming, right? So that's why it's not going to, like, if this happened to Tilray, if nothing changed with Tilray, and then all of a sudden they reported earnings and it went from, 100 million to 200 million, or in this instance, or Sundial reported earnings, SNDL reported earnings, and they didn't have any acquisitions, and their revenue went up 2,000%. Well, then obviously the thing would be up probably like 200% the next day. Probably go from like $3 to $6, but maybe even higher. But again, it's because of the liquor component, right? They're more of a liquor store, more of a liquor company now than they are MJ. And it was pretty highlighted. They talked about liquor for the most part in the earnings report. But again, the full acquisition of Alcanna is now complete. So no wonder they were talking about it a little bit more, right? But yeah, don't be just fooled by the sheer numbers. Zachary Silver Spoon Boys keeping it low with the hedge buddies to buy it back. He's crooked. Yeah, he could be. It's the whole sector, right? It's not just SNDL. Tilray's down 95% from February 2021 highs. Most US MJ's down 80%, almost 90%. The average is 80% plus for MSOs and American operators. And in Canada, it's anywhere from 80 to 90% plus. So Canada taking it on the chin, and SNDL's in Canada. So therefore, it's getting it on the chin as well, right? So it's definitely the institutions and the Wall Street banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. Those are the ones, behind all of everything, right? BlackRock, you've got Vanguard, all those. they've been shorting this, right? It's been a shorter's paradise, and they've literally been shorting this like there's no tomorrow, right? They have trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and they do a lot of things under the radar, and it's obviously going to reverse at some point, right? But they've just been having a field day, and I think it's more than just SNDL or his hedge fund buddies. It's the whole sector, right? It's deep pockets. Like, we're talking, just Google who runs the world or who owns the world, and BlackRock literally owns like the majority of like 299 of the world's biggest companies. So like BlackRock owns the world essentially, right? And they have like $10 trillion under management, right? And all of these companies on NASDAQ, that's why they get destroyed, right? Look at SNDL from February 2021 highs. This is factoring in post-split again, right? But 39 down to, so 94%. So it's actually doing better than Tilray. Yeah, it's only down 94, and Tilray's down almost 96, right? So is Zachary and his buddies shorting Tilray too, right? You'd have to ask. I think it's more than that. I think it's the financial institutions that corrupt our system from beginning, right? We know that JP Morgan was fined almost $1 billion for manipulating gold and silver markets. You don't think they're manipulating these markets? Who else can make the price tank 95% across the whole sector? It ain't retail, it ain't a few hedge fund buddies. That is the whole financial system as we know it against you and me, right? Because I'm not shorting. I haven't shorted it. I'm time in the market now is better than timing the market. And my philosophy is to just buy low and sell high. And granted, it dropped a lot lower than I thought it was going to, but I'd never invested any more than I was willing to lose. I kept a lot of cash on the side. I was hedging with short position on the S&P 500, and the profits that I made from my short position on SPY, I was able to rotate into beaten down MJ. MJ dropped even more as a result of SPY dropping, and then I was able to take those profits and hedge position and put them into more beaten down MJ, right? Versus just buying a lump sum of MJ 6 months ago, 12 months ago, you'd be absolutely wrecked, right? So saving tons of cash, having diversification, not just one MJ stock, multiple MJ in Canada, US, retailers, ETFs, diversification into other assets as well, maybe, tech stocks or crypto. There's a ton of different options, right? Real estate. Yeah, so Cannabis in the works is going to be their into the EU. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting as well to see if they expand their liquor business outside of Canada. Like, they're like the number one in Canada, 17% market share, I think it said. But are they going to expand liquor outside of Canada is my question. I have no idea how the liquor industry works. And I think that if you're invested into Sundial, you need to start like paying attention to the liquor trends and stuff, because like I said, 223.7 million, 148.6% of 148.6 million of that was from liquor retail. Not making liquor, not manufacturing it, producing it in a plant, right? In a facility. They're just buying liquor and selling it retail. And it's all 148.6 million. So if you're investing in Sundial before, now you kind of have to really pay attention to the liquor retail aspect as well, because it's accounting for like 80% of their revenue, 70% of their revenue. I do like Ace Liquor. I do like Wine and Beyond. I do like Liquor Depot. Like, they have good brands. I'm not an alcohol expert, so that's why I've been holding off a little bit on this one. I've only taken a couple of positions, but you got some. If I was going to be investing a ton of money into this, I'd have my work cut out for me. I'd be researching the hell out of this to see what liquor trends have been like, what the trends are for MJ eating into liquor sales. As a result of more, limits on beverages for MJ drinks increasing. Like, they're going to have MJ stores anyway, so it's going to be like they're going to have like a monopoly essentially. So if they don't go to one, they'll end up going to the other, assuming they go to their retail locations. which they probably will because Nova Cannabis and Value Buds are super popular. But yeah, Cannabis will be a Malta facility that they got from Hexo as a result of Cannabis stalking horse bid going. Hexo filed Cannabis creditor protection, so Sundial will be potentially, and Hexo actually holds some Sundial shares on their balance sheet as a long-term investment, which is pretty cool. So they're all intertwined, right? Like they're all. It's almost like they're all good buddies. Now Tilray partnering with Hexo, it's like, and then Hexo's just like, oh, here you go, SNDL, have our Malta facility and get it for basically nothing, and you'll have your EU GMP certification. You'll be able to sell into Germany. It just so happens Germany's coming to be legal. It's like, guys, we live in a simulation, in case you haven't noticed already. SNDL Monday depends on how the call goes in the morning, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's a good point too. We'll see how the call goes. Yeah, a lot of what they say, they did this well, right? I think they did a really good job by releasing it after hours, late after hours on a Friday, and then Monday gives them a little bit of chance to redeem themselves, right? Obviously, if they would have beat huge on EPS and revenue, but the fact that they had a pretty big miss on EPS and then a big beat on revenue, it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. So it'll give them, before market opens on Monday, it'll give them a little bit of a chance to redeem themselves, or not redeem themselves, but polish things up a little bit, or potentially share some news that we haven't heard yet. So, oh. Okay. You're blocked. Man, people are so vulgar. It's like, comment on that's. I will say though, there's not very many people who are very erratic and crazy commenting like that, but that user's banned. But yeah, maybe you need to go smoke a J, bud, and chill out. SNDL Monday depends on how I already read that one. It's all exciting news for SNDL. The growth is just starting, but I do like the feedback. Thanks. You're welcome. Yeah, we need to just drop the tribalism too, everybody, right? Like, I'm just a guy, right? I'm just a guy on YouTube giving you my honest opinion. And if you don't want my honest opinion, what are you doing here, right? Or if you don't want people's honest opinions, why are you even listening to them? You shouldn't even be listening to them. If they're not talking intellectual honesty and giving you their genuine thoughts, you probably should tune out. So if I'm just being real and giving you guys my 2 cents and you can't take it, well, you'll just be blocked. There's a lot of reasons to drink nowadays. Yeah, that's true. But you have the MJ drinks coming out now too, right? So that's cool too. All right, gonna start wrapping it up. Keep the stream under an hour, but we're pretty much at the end of it. Again, I'll run through this a little bit more in detail, but like I said, it could be 2 or 3 hours by the time we were done looking through all that. Looks pretty dry, to be honest. I think we got pretty much all of it, but I'll skim that. If I see anything, I'll let everybody know. But thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. Hope you have a fantastic Friday. It's a blast as always, and smash the like on your way out if you think I earned it today. I would appreciate that very much. And everybody just try and chill out. We had one person fly off the handles in here today. It doesn't happen very often, but definitely happens. And yeah, I know you can still listen, you just can't comment. So if you're still listening, I think his name was Tyler. Yeah, no hard feelings, dude, but like I said, I'm just trying to help, and called me an asshole, so you'll be blocked, and you can still listen, and I still respect, I still accept you in here and listening. You can still take value from it, but I'm not going to tolerate that whatsoever. But yeah, I don't wish anything bad on anybody. So yeah, stick around and hopefully you get some value, and your mind changes and you don't think I'm an asshole eventually. But you'll never be able to tell me because you've been blocked from the channel, and you will never be unblocked. Because I don't go back. I don't have time to be going back and unblocking people. All right. Thanks to all you awesome people who commented nice things. And yeah, gold star for everybody else. It's still have fun with assholes, right? All right. Going to end it there. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, everybody. Have a great night.